WWE Hall of Famer Tamara Sunny Sytch's fall from grace is one of epic proportions. She absolutely had everything going for her. The numerous honors, accolades, accomplishments bestowed upon her in such a short period and nothing short of outstanding. At 23 years old, she was the youngest honoree inducted into the Cauliflower Alley Club Hall of Fame, which is the pro wrestling industry's only nonprofit corporation. She was the manager of 3 consecutive tag team championship teams, which contributed to her winning Pro Wrestling Illustrated Manager of the Year in 1996. She is the winner of 2 Slammy Awards, which is a concept used to reward WWE superstars, similar to that of Academy and Grammy Award winners. She took home Best Buns as well as Minds Behind the Mayhem for Manager of the Year. WWE Hall of Fame inductee class of 2011, and last but not least, she was inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which recognizes pro wrestling personalities throughout the entire East Coast. She was the original diva who paved the way forward for divas who came after her, whether they choose to acknowledge that or not. Even America Online named her the #1 most downloaded celebrity in AOL back in '96 when AOL was at its peak. However, her constant battle with alcoholism proved to be her most powerful adversary. In all actuality, Tammy Lynn Sytch was her own worst enemy. And after her most recent and serious of offenses, sunny days are over for Tammy Lynn Sytch. Greetings and salutations, welcome back to my channel. This is yet another episode of True Pro Wrestling Stories, and I am JTR Raps, here to give it to you. Tammy Lynn Sytch, otherwise known as the very first diva, Sunny. She's a very bright lady who accomplishes just about anything she sets her mind to. Take her book, for example, aptly named A Star Shattered, The Rise and Fall and Rise of Wrestling Diva Tammy Sunny Sytch, which she actually started writing while she was housed as an inmate, number 393257 to be exact, at the York Correctional Institute in Connecticut. Took her 6 years to finish. She had a message she wanted to convey, she set her mind to it, and she wrote this book, which was a pretty insightful look from the outside in. Now, unless some of you have been living under a rock, I say the overwhelming majority of the community has heard the backstage stories of Sunny and her transgressions, especially during her tenure with the WWF. It is refreshing, however, to hear her tell from her own perspective, her side of the story. I gave it a read. Shatter, Rise, and Fall is right, though you do have to admire her truth. Give it a read if you haven't already. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Sunny was born Tamara Lynn Sytch on the 7th of December 1972 in Matawan, New Jersey. Now, what's telling and a sign of what was to come, her father liked to bottle too. According to her account, her dad was behind the wheel while under heavy influence of alcohol, driving quite recklessly on an Army installation. Her father was retired Navy. The military police got involved, but instead of taking a man who was clearly drunk down to the station, Sunny's father just gave the MPs all of the details about his wife having been in labor for the past 36 hours with their 4th child 16 years after their 3rd child was born. They actually sympathized, and he was escorted to the delivery room while the child was in the middle of being delivered. The way Sunny tells it, she was supposed to be named Jennifer Lynn. However, when her dad came staggering into delivery like he was drunken master, he shouts out, "She's not Jennifer, she's Tamara." Allegedly, the vodka he'd been drinking was aptly named Tamara, like a glimpse into the future. Growing up, little Tamara was daddy's little girl. Her father owned a successful steel fabrication and construction business, and even though her mother was perfectly content being a stay-at-home mom, caring for their 4 children and taking care of the household, the family was well off, and Tamara, being the baby of the bunch, got everything she wanted. Her parents spoiled her to the max, and in her own words, there was nothing she ever needed because she already had it all. It was a playmate of hers who first introduced her to the wild and wacky universe of the World Wrestling Federation. This was an era of sports entertainment, a term that was coined during the 1980s when kayfabe was alive and well, and the WWF superstars were over the top with cartoonish-like gimmicks. She adored the likes of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ivan Putski, the Polish Hammer, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and her absolute favorite, Hulk Hogan. Like a lot of young fans back in the day, she was a huge Hulkamaniac. She had all the WWF merchandise and pro wrestling memorabilia from all sorts of magazines to every LJN action figure available in stores. She was up front and center at all the events, and it was quite fitting because Titan Towers in Stamford, Connecticut was just around the corner. She credits WWE Hall of Famer Wendy Richter for giving her the inspiration to work out and ultimately get into the business. She was well on her way to attending the University of Miami on scholarship to be a doctor when she met the love of her life, Chris Candido. He was an aspiring pro wrestler who was paying his dues and making a name for himself on the indie circuit. On the surface, it was a match made in heaven. Fireworks sparked the moment they laid eyes on each other, and they fell madly in love. For nearly 16 years, for better or worse, they remained a part of each other's lives. They began their crazy descent into the mad world of pro wrestling together in or around 1990 when Sunny would accompany Chris to his independent bookings up and down the East Coast. She would set up somewhere near ringside with her video cameras while filming and taking photographs, which ended up in the hands of pro wrestling journalist and photographer Bill Apter. This led to Sunny doing freelance work for Mr. Apter to make some extra cash. Chris ended up on a marquee event for the National Wrestling Alliance in New Jersey, which happened to be headlined by a seasoned pro wrestler named Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. On Eddie's recommendation, Chris received phone calls from representatives in the United States Wrestling Association that Jerry the King Lawler wanted Chris Candido to be a part of his roster. This would be Chris's first stint in an actual pro wrestling territory with television coverage, though if we're being honest, he really wanted Sunny. Chris and Sunny most certainly paid their dues before they would ultimately make it big, making anywhere between $15 and $40 a night, which was only sufficient enough for them to make it to the next town over. Luckily, Sunny had supportive parents who were willing to pay some of the way and lend a helping hand whenever they needed it. They cherished a great friendship with Eddie Gilbert and formed a tight bond with ECW original Sabu during their tenure with the USWA. Following their short run with USWA in 1993, Chris was booked for a show with none other than Jim Cornette for his Smoky Mountain Wrestling promotion based in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was to be a more permanent fixture. Per usual, Sunny always found a way to tag along as Chris's girlfriend, though she wasn't officially in the business yet. She was still attending classes while majoring in biology with Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. But when the call came for a long-term opportunity down in SMW, she made the commitment by transferring to the University of Tennessee. Chris wrestled a fast-paced style, which was a change of pace from the old-school style of professional wrestling, which fans weren't quite accustomed to yet. Seasoned veterans, the likes of Ricky Morton and Tracy Smothers, took Chris under their wing and showed him the ropes, and it wasn't long before Jim Cornette had offered Sunny a spot as an on-air talent. Jim Cornette needed a heel manager, and she was offered a 6-month deal to perform ringside and cut promos. Her gimmick? Tammy Fitch, this northern prissy, bitch-like character who just happened to be a student of Wellesley College in Massachusetts, just like her idol, Hillary Clinton, with plans to dominate every male in the region. As I previously mentioned, kayfabe was still a thing, and in Southern Territory, longtime fans of SMW developed a deep-rooted hatred of Tammy Fitch. In fact, she had developed so much heat that she had gotten death threats and physically attacked on occasion by the die-hard fans in attendance who could no longer sit idly by while being called hillbillies, rednecks, and toothless hicks. Sunny was doing her job and doing it very well, and well on her way to surpassing even Jim Cornette as the most hated heel manager in the territory. She went on to coach primetime Brian Lee to an SMW championship reign and managed both Lee and Chris to tag team championship goal before the buzz she was creating made its way to the one and only Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Hello everyone, I'm Tamara Murphy. The World Wrestling Federation in High Gear will be live right here in Madison Square Garden, Sunday afternoon, March the 19th. Very special start time of 2 p.m.
This was Sunny's first gig with the World Wrestling Federation, a broadcaster for live event news starring Tamara Murphy. Turns out Vince loved Sunny's given name but wanted her family name to be Irish. Vince took an immediate liking to her, told her to lose the New Jersey accent, and personally coached her on her mannerisms and on-air delivery whilst filming for her segments. Now mind you, Sunny had been the only one called up at this point. Chris was still making a name for himself and creating his very own buzz down south. The WWF would film Tamara Murphy on live event news Monday through Wednesday and fly back home to Tennessee to work house shows with Chris in SNW Thursday through Sunday. Wash, rinse, repeat. The difference this time around, the money started rolling in and Chris harbored no feelings of jealousy. Her success was their success. Vince McMahon and his World Wrestling Federation were expanding, and as he continued to acquire talent with promises of superstardom and riches, more and more promoters were run out of the business, and the territorial system would eventually come to an end in or around 1993. Smoky Mountain was the last of the Mohicans, and it too would be devoured by Mr. McMahon and locked away in the WWE video vault. Prior to SMW closing its doors in 1995, Chris performed his last match with the promotion on the losing end when he failed to defeat the late Boo Bradley, aka Boss Mahoney, in a loser leaves town dog collar match. Both Chris and Sunny were signed to contracts with the WWF in 1995 and were paired together soon thereafter. The experienced duo were to be babyfaces named Team Spirit, Chris and Tammy, complete with singlets, tank tops, gloves above the elbows, cheerleading skirts, and capes. This failed miserably because, coincidentally, they debuted during a live event in North Carolina, only 90 miles from where they did this controversial angle during their SMW days. In kayfabe, Tammy Fitch had kidnapped Boo the cat, which was Boo Bradley's household pet. Boo was stuffed inside of a canvas bag, and while Bradley was preoccupied chasing down Fitch, Chris came crashing onto it from the top rope in the center of the ring with his patented leg drop off the top, effectively killing it in kayfabe. Mind you, they were debuting as babyfaces in the same territory they were despised in, so needless to say, the reception was abysmal and this particular gimmick was stopped dead in its tracks, effectively rendering them heels. Enter the Bodydonnas. They were going to debut as the Bodydonnas, Sunny and Skip, a pair of fitness gurus with prima donna-like behavior, hence the name Bodydonnas. It was the perfect villainous gimmick. Sunny was even allowed to design their wrestling attire. Sunny was her usual conceited on-air personality, while Skip was the cocky and zealous type. The fans were fat and out of shape, while the duo of Sunny and Skip were the epitome of perfection. They were a heat magnet and garnered more success once Dr. Tom Pritchard, repackaged as Zip, came into the picture. With Sunny in their corner, they would go on to conquer the tag team division by winning a tournament and capturing the vacant WWF World Tag Team Championships when they defeated the Godwins. Sunny's rise to superstardom would ultimately soar even higher, which rendered her the babyface manager of a heel duo. Soon thereafter, Sunny turned on the Bodydonnas once the Godwins recaptured championship glory. In snake-like fashion, she then turned on the Godwins as well in favor of Billy and Bart, the Smoking Guns, helping them win the championships. So at this point, Sunny was officially the WWF's only diva and award-winning manager of 3 championship teams. The spotlight was hers. Her brains, beauty, and scantily clad outfits afforded her a very successful stretch following the sunset of the rock and wrestling era. Sunny had her own bikini photo shoot, which was featured in a 1996 edition of WWF Raw magazine. She even made the cover with Vader. She had her own music video featuring soul singer Bobby Hebb's hit single Sunny. She had her own line of merch from t-shirts to beach towels, even a CD-ROM complete with calendar and screensaver. She was a mid-card talent who grew to be larger than life. She even surpassed B-list actresses such as Pamela Anderson, Cindy Margolis, and Terry Hatcher as the first celeb to reach an impressive 1 million downloads of a single picture on AOL, the dominant web portal during the mid to late 90s. When I say she paved the way for divas to come, this is what I meant. She was a certified WWF superstar and it wasn't even close. She was interviewed and featured on mainstream shows from Entertainment Tonight to Inside Edition. Even the men's lifestyle and entertainment magazine Playboy wanted her featured in one of their layouts, allegedly, which she supposedly turned down due to her conservativeness. She went on to manage WWE Hall of Famers Ron Simmons during his stint as the ridiculous gladiator Farouk, as well as the Legion of Doom 2000. She was the most popular female talent in the company, and her relationship with Chris Candido at this point was on the rocks. It was around this time that she had started getting cozy with a co-worker with whom she had always admired from afar, WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels. She was not so secretly in a love affair with the Heartbreak Kid, which lasted around 9 months, and allegedly the Click Girl behaved promiscuously and made her rounds in the locker room. Let the boys tell it. All behind the back of her high school sweetheart. According to Sonny, even Vince approved of his two top megastars' entanglement. Now, Sonny was straight edge up to this point. She had never abused any prescription meds or alcohol, not even a beer. That is until she started hanging around the boys. She claims her drink was the Click's drink. I think we all know who the members of the Click are by now. Scotch, whiskey, and soda, which became her go-to alcoholic beverage. Whilst her relationship with Chris was much better, her love affair with Shawn Michaels, not so much. This was a huge blow to his ego because no matter the circumstances, Sonny was in love with Chris, which led to Shawn breaking off their relationship. He even allowed his emotions to get the better of him during his real-life feud with WWE Hall of Famer Bret the Hitman Hart during an episode of Raw nearly 20 years ago. Sonny maintained a close relationship with Bret, and during a segment that aired, Shawn made an unscripted comment about having sunny days, or words to that effect. This obviously infuriated Bret, who was married. Sonny was released from the company in 1998 for numerous reasons. The real-life animosity between her and future WWF diva Sable, and quite possibly her abuse of prescription pills from Somas to Percocets, Vicodin, Valium, Xanax, you name it, she developed a habit for it. She even claimed to be trafficking drugs in Tijuana back across the border with a large enough order for all the boys, and especially the Clique. I think the straw that broke the camel's back, though, was her appearance alongside Candido in Extreme Championship Wrestling, an appearance that Vince actually blessed off on as a favor to Paul Heyman when she got on the microphone and hollered, "ECW is my new home." This earned a nice, bright pink slip for her efforts. Chris and Sonny garnered some success in ECW while they were in a stable called Triple Threat, aligning themselves with the Queen of Extreme Francine, the franchise Shane Douglas, and Bam Bam Bigelow. Heyman granted Chris and Sonny their releases due to disputes concerning unpaid salaries they were owed. They went on to attain little to moderate success in other defunct promotions such as Extreme Pro Wrestling and World Championship Wrestling WCW. Now, there are many types of drinkers depending on one's personality. There's social drinkers, binge drinkers, stress drinkers, self-medication drinkers. Sonny, she's the latter. It's how she copes with hardships, heartbreaks, and traumatic experiences. Between 1993 and 2005, she lost 3 key people who were very near and dear in her life. Her father, who passed away from congestive heart failure in 1993. Her niece, who was only 16 years old, she died from complications due to a car accident. And her lifelong boyfriend, Chris Candido, who died in 2005 from a heart attack due to blood clotting. She's lost 3 people she loved very much. I'm not excusing anything she's done while under the influence of alcohol. Yet again, this is how she self-medicates. She turns to the bottle. Her fall from grace continued to decline as she started acquiring a string of offenses and running into troubles with the law, the first of which started in 2012. During this time, Sonny was in a very toxic relationship with an aspiring indie wrestler named D. She accused him of cheating on her and they got into a scuffle. Her boyfriend phones the police, which leads to her first arrest for disorderly conduct. She spends the night in a holding cell. Authorities release her on grounds of promising to appear in court the following day. She returns home. They get into another argument. He phones the police. That's arrest number 2, disorderly conduct. Now it's back to a holding cell. She's released on promise to appear again, only this time it's a full protection order, meaning she's not allowed to return home this time. She doesn't go home, but they link up eventually. He admits to cheating, she loses it on him, and hits the liquor store to drink the pain away. She goes home again. They end up arguing some more, and wouldn't you know it, he dials 911. 3rd day in a row, 3rd arrest. This time, her arrest make national headlines and is plastered all over the news. It's even on TMZ. Soon thereafter, she violates the protection order again. They get into another spat. She consumes a liter-sized bottle of vodka. They argue at home. The cops are called. Arrest number 4. Bondsman posts her bail. She stops by the liquor store before heading back to their apartment to grab some things. She doesn't have her keys to get inside. She climbs the second floor balcony and goes through the sliding door. Her neighbor sees this. He calls the police. She's arrested for a 5th time and charged with violating yet another protective order for the 4th time. And 3rd-degree burglary to match.
Bond set at $25,000.
That was 39-year-old former pro wrestler Tamara Sytch in court this morning after being arrested for the 4th time for harassing a former boyfriend. She went right back to her former boyfriend's place in Brantford and was arrested again for the 5th time.
She's unable to post bond this time around, and she's carted off to state prison and processed into the Connecticut state penal system for the next 20 days or so. From here, it's just wash, rinse, repeat. Similar offenses mount up to include newer ones like careless driving, driving with a suspended license, violating parole, evading justice, domestic violence, legally possessing a weapon, and terroristic threats she made against her partner, DUI, DWI. She's a sad case at this point, and there's nothing anybody can do for her until she helps herself first. She even spent a year in jail back in 2019. However, fans of Sunny were still checking on her. Once she was released from jail in or around 2020, she became one of many pornographic creators because, let's face it, that's just what she had become, who capitalized on the booming platform OnlyFans, where she uploads exclusive adult content, coattailing off her past success. All you have to do is look at the web address to her OnlyFans/WWE HOFER, Sunny. Sunny, the same girl who once considered herself to be quite conservative, has admittedly gone on record to explain how she's always been sexual and voyeuristic. She regularly posed nude for Missy Hyatt's adult website called Wrestling Vixens. She claimed to have made more than double the money she made in WWE by exposing all of herself on Skype. And in 2016, she started her own adult video produced by pornographic film giant Diva Entertainment called Sunny Side Up In Through the Back Door. She talks all about that in her memoir. By the end of 2021, the WWE Hall of Famer had a rap sheet as long as her own arm, and as her offenses continued to mount up in 2022, her most recent arrest would turn out to be a jaw-dropping conclusion to an already sad case. On March 25th, she was the cause of a fatal accident when her vehicle collided into another car that was stopped at a traffic light, which caused a domino effect when that car crashed into yet another car that was in front of it. Sadly, the driver of the stopped vehicle, whom Sunny crashed into, 75-year-old Julian Lassiter, did not survive her negligence. He was subsequently transported to a hospital where he was pronounced deceased. If convicted, she's facing a possible sentence of 30 years for DUI manslaughter. Yes, her toxicology report read a blood alcohol level that was more than 3 times the legal limit. Fans, producers, and pro wrestling insiders all came out in droves to publicly condemn the WWE Hall of Famer for having a complete disregard not only for her own life but others as well. Her recklessness and inability to refrain from getting behind the wheel while impaired has infuriated the internet wrestling community and those in the business who knew her best. Has she expressed sympathy for her latest actions? I don't know, because she was recently criticized for promoting her OnlyFans in the wake of a DUI manslaughter charge. The judge handling her case unceremoniously revoked her surety bond.
Tamara Sytch is back in handcuffs now that a judge has revoked her bond.
And we have seemingly one event after another related to alcohol abuse.
A jail bondsman had put up 10% of $227,500. She had been out of jail while waiting for her date to appear in court. The prosecutors and judge deemed her a danger to the community, saying that there was no reasonable method of keeping the public safe without a complete revocation of her bond. OnlyFans issued her members automatic $15 refunds once her bond was rejected. Former WWE employee and disgraced Performance Center coach Bill DeMott spoke out against Sunny in a series of tweets that included a press release from his Carrie Ann DeMott Foundation, voicing that Sunny should no longer be a part of the WWE's Hall of Fame. Hence the name of his foundation. Bill DeMott's daughter Carrie was killed by a drunk driver in 2016, which makes his pleas that much more passionate. Naturally, Sunny fired back at this, saying that he was much too busy degrading both male and female talent to even be considered for a seat in the Hall of Fame wing. To date, WWE has no intentions or plans in place to remove Sunny from the Hall of Fame. Alright, so now I'm going to stop calling her Sunny for a moment and refer to her by her legal name. This may very well be Tammy's final curtain call. It's no longer just her or her significant other. The man's life is ended. 75 years on this earth only to be taken out by a drunken driver who can't seem to consume her alcoholic beverages from the comfort of her own home. She's not even supposed to be driving to begin with. Some people need that hard reality check. I'm hoping she has enough empathy to reflect, killing a person and every offense she's committed to this point. She's 49 years old. Her drinking nearly killed her back in 2000 and 2001. She was drinking so much liquor without eating that she developed pancreatitis. It's an inflammation in the pancreas caused by excessive alcohol consumption. She survived that somehow. She even made it through her bout with cervical cancer. Didn't even need chemo. Kicked out again. She's potentially facing 30, which means she may die in prison. Not so sure she can kick out this time, and that's her reality. Thank you for watching this latest episode of True Pro Wrestling Stories. I do appreciate when you guys post your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. This is JTR Raps. I'm out.